live.
Hey everybody, great to have you guys here. We're going to be getting started here with the Heart of the Rockies Wellness Program Cooking Class. We got Savannah here. Savannah, what's your role within wellness?
I am a health promotion specialist, and I have a health coaching certification through the Institute of Functional Medicine that focuses on healthy lifestyle.
And my name is John. I am a diabetes educator here at the hospital and exercise physiologist. So today we thought what a better time to get into some food and some healthy food as we have nothing else to do. So we have sort of a captioned time right now, a captive audience maybe. It's only 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but we're going to go through a meal today, and that way we can be ready for dinner tonight.
Yes.
So you're not going to have the ingredients probably that we're going to do, but you can maybe quickly pull them together and make this meal tonight. Why, Savannah, did we try this meal?
We decided to pick this recipe because it's going to be stuff that you probably have in your pantry. So beans and rice, and then a lot of staples like garlic or oregano, basil, salt and pepper, and onion. So it's stuff that you're going to already have at home and not have to run out to the store and go grab.
Yeah, and I think that was a great idea for you to pull that together. So we're going to put a sort of a spicy twist on beans and rice. I noticed today when I went to the grocery store that the only time you ever go to the grocery store and see that all the beans and garlic are gone is during a pandemic. So it was refreshing to see frozen pizzas and ice cream still in stock, but the beans were gone. And I grabbed like one of the last 5 cans of beans at the grocery store today. So, and there was literally no garlic. But we're gonna make pineapple chili rice, and we're gonna do some unique spices with some beans and tomatoes. We're gonna put it all together, and we have a fun salsa to add. And so while we're putting all these ingredients together, Savannah's typed up the ingredient and recipe list. We're gonna email those to you. You can put a chat comment in the YouTube channel there and just let us know your email address, and we'll send it out to you as well. So shall we get started?
Let's get started.
All right, what are we making first?
Is that boiling?
We got boiling water, yep.
The rice.
All right. So before we begin here really quick, let's take a look at where we're getting this recipe. I want to point out this cookbook right here. This cookbook here is about 25 years old. It is the Moosewood Restaurant Low Fat Favorites. It's a restaurant up in Ithaca, New York. It's a pretty famous restaurant, and it's super good food there. I think we're okay there. And so what we have here is called fragrant jasmine rice. All right, so we've got jasmine rice, we've got some pineapple, we've got garlic, we've got chilies, lemon juice. So we're gonna put all that together. So first thing we're gonna do, get out a saucepan about this size and get yourself some medium heat. Probably like a number 5. Or should we measure this, or should we just?
Oh, you just go for it. Go for it.
I'm not doing
You're a
one of
chef.
these.
You know how to do it.
So you make it fancy when someone's watching, and we're gonna let that oil heat up. It's always a good idea to let the pan heat up before you put in the oil. Why is that, Savannah? I'll answer my own questions. So olive oil has a pretty low smoke point.
Okay.
And so if you put it in there and it starts to get really hot, you're gonna change the chemical nature of it. So it's, you knew that. I just had a question.
So if you were gonna cook something at a higher heat, you would want to use like avocado oil because olive oil have the lower smoke point. So if you're cooking stuff very high heat, which a lot of us do, you want to use avocado oil.
Good point. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna put in is onions and garlic, right? Let me check correct me if I'm wrong.
Add lemongrass, Garlic, chili, and salt.
Okay, great. So we need to get a little lemon zest. So again, we're going to send you all the recipes. Do you mind zesting this lemon?
Yeah, the other side.
Two teaspoons.
2 spoons.
And you can go right into the pan. And I'll switch places with you.
The other one, the side works.
This one?
Yeah,
Oh,
that one works best for me anyway.
this one. That is not, you're not zesting every day, so you know what? Oh, it's grated. I'm sorry, it's grated. My bad.
Jeez.
We're not zesting. Go ahead and grate that right there on that.
So I was right.
You were right.
Right.
It helps to have the recipe in front of you. All right. So we're going to get some garlic in there. This is pretty heavy in garlic. We're going to put in 4 cloves of garlic. 1 clove of garlic, if you're using minced, is about a ½ teaspoon. Ooh, that might be a little hot. Come down a bit on that. Savannah, what do you enjoy about cooking?
The aroma. If you could just smell the garlic right now. I also like cooking because I like the idea of feeling my body correctly. Like when we're using garlic, it's really good for anti-inflammatory, it's antibacterial. It is really, really good for us, and it helps boost our immune system, as well as lemon. Lemon aids in digestion, is full of phytonutrients, antioxidants. So it's going to help our body fight against oxidation of our cells, which is we're fighting, helping disease not happen. Let's do this.
Indeed. I did not watch, but you probably can
Probably
go
do more.
Go more. So right now we just have garlic, chilies, oil, and lemons. Lemon zest or lemon peel, freshly grated. And this, we washed the lemon, obviously, we have an organic lemon, so they didn't use any pesticides, so that's a great deal as well. All right, so we're gonna let that go for about 2 or 3 minutes. And then we're gonna add our let's see, I don't want to miss anything. Great, we're going to add, let's get our boiling water, which we can boil again on this one, right here, since we already have it hot. Go ahead and pop that on there. Get that boiling again. We need just a pinch of salt. That's a pinch in my household. And so this meal, we're actually going to take crushed pineapple. We have 8 ounces of crushed pineapple with the juice. We're going to pop that into the saucepan with the water and the rice. So this recipe calls for 2 cups of rice. Just want to make sure that we got all this correct. 2 cups of rice. We're going to use jasmine rice because it's really fragrant. So let's go ahead and put the water in. Oh, yeah. Well, the fire alarm doesn't go on. That's been known to happen. Might need a fanner. All right, I think we're good. And we'll bring this back up to a boil. We're just doing 2 cups of rice. You can use any kind of rice, but jasmine rice is the most fragrant, in my opinion. I like it quite a bit. And I believe that is it. So we're going to let this simmer for 15 minutes. Okay, perfect. We have a homemade cover. We don't have one of those.
What is there a question? Anyway?
Do we have any questions coming through?
Some joined late. Are you making chili? Chili wine.
Oh, for those of you that are just joining us, we're making pineapple chili jasmine rice with a little bit of garlic. We're going to send out the recipe as well. So when this meal is all done, I'm going to turn that down just a little bit. Yeah. When this meal is all done, we're going to have beans over rice with a salsa. So we're going to make a really quick homemade salsa.
And another good thing about this recipe is that with the beans and rice, you're creating a complete protein, and protein is extremely important for our immune system and our body's immunity. So that's another reason why we chose this, is that protein right now is extremely important for all this. So don't skimp on your protein currently.
Good point. I'm going to grab a knife. I was wrong. We do need a knife for today's meal. Our sous chef did not get us all prepped. So, all right, this next recipe we'll send it to you as well. Is we're gonna make it in the blender. Okay, it's a fresh salsa. It does best if it sits out overnight. But what we have here, Savannah, is red onion, jalapeno pepper, lemon juice, garlic, salt. Don't forget the salt. Let's see, how much salt?
Half a teaspoon.
Perfect. I've done this so many times. And then finally, we're gonna, we might need a knife actually. So we need a little more lemon juice for this one. This is gonna be a snap. So we're gonna let this sit for 20 minutes. Thank you so much. We'll cut this little guy in half and we'll squeeze in our lemon juice. Go right into this cup so we don't get seeds. And this salsa takes about 10 seconds to make, so it's really easy to make and it's fun. All right, let's get those. So Savannah, do you want to do the honors of blending this? Yeah, I think that's good. You can do, it depends on your consistency of chunkiness.
Yeah.
So
it's hard to, it might not be easy to tell, but this is a very light pinkish color of a salsa.
So I think what we need to add the entire onion. I forgot to add the rest of the onion. Sorry. That's going to make it a little more pink. These, I think, are for our beans. Let's just cut this in half so it's not too. We're going to do a little more red onion because I failed to. That should be good. Let's give that a shot. You can add more. The more onion you put in, the pinker it gets. So it's kind of fun to have a bright pink salsa. There we go. Now it's starting to look like strawberry smoothie.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. So we got our salsas done. We're waiting on our rice here to be done. I think what we'll do, just to give a little weight to our homemade. It's so hard to find a lid in this town, but we'll just do that to help kind of keep it firm. All right, now for the beans. The beans are super easy. I like to do just real basic garlic, onions, olive oil, saute those together until your onions start to get translucent, and then add your spices. That's kind of the key for like all this. So
John is the bean connoisseur.
With the bean connoisseur, we're going to go medium heat. And we've got induction burners because we're professionals, and these things heat up really fast, which is cool. you'll see us put in the oil really fast. So what we're going to do is we're going to do onions and garlic, like we said, and then we're going to add oregano, some chili powder, and tomatoes to this. All right, so that's all we're going to do. This is already starting to get warm. This is such a fast meal. It's pretty great. And then do you want to put, how about a tablespoon of garlic in there, which would be about, we don't have a recipe for this one, so you got to watch really close. It's going to be about two cloves of garlic. We're just making a meal for 4 here. So that's going to saute for about 5 minutes. While we're sauteing this, we could probably talk about our sponsor for the day.
Sponsor for the day. Oh yes. There we go.
So, you know, being in the hospital, we have a lot of great programs. What I do want to show or to talk about is we have a grant through the hospital called the Women's Wellness Connection. You probably have heard of it or seen some ads around town. Right now, they are promoting for anyone that has recently had a change in their insurance or a loss of health insurance. We want you to know that the hospital has free cancer screenings for breast and cervical cancer. And I'm going to show you the phone number. We're going to hold that up. Again, you can always replay this, but if you call Brenda at 207-2088, if you qualify, you can get a breast or cervical cancer screening, and if you are found to have cancer, all of the treatment is covered through this grant, which is a pretty big deal. Mm-hmm. So there's really no risk, but you can call. That's just through the hospital foundation. And this, you can find this on our website.
And Facebook. It's on Facebook as well.
And Facebook, as well as if you do call the number 207-2088, you'll be entered into a drawing to win a gift card. So that's a pretty good deal.
It is a pretty good deal.
So, all right. We got these going here. You need, like, if you had to say, out of all these things we have here, we got beans and rice and onions and garlic. What are our anti-inflammatory ingredients today? Why would the anti-inflammatory be so important right now?
Yeah, so we have a lot of anti-inflammatory. So our garlic, our olive oil, I mean, you can say a lot of our spices are anti-inflammatory. The rest of them all have a lot of really good, like, antioxidant phytonutrients, which I would say are just as important as like anti-inflammatory. And these are super important right now because we need to keep our bodies healthy. This is not the time where we should be sitting at home eating ice cream when we're bored. We should really be trying to cook really healthy meals. And if you have questions about that, or maybe you're struggling with it, you know, when you go to the grocery store and everything is sold out, like, and they only have fresh produce and you're only going to go once or twice every couple of weeks, like, how can I make healthy meals still? You know, we're here for you. We can help give you ideas of like smoothies or simple recipes like this. I mean, most of this stuff a lot of us already have in our pantry, and we're just throwing it kind of together with a little bit of like spice to it. But immunity, we need to exercise still. We can't preach that enough. We need to eat healthy. We really need to manage our stress. This is not as much as we can watch the news and want to know what's going on and stay connected to the world. We need to know like when to stop and step away. And cooking a really good meal like this can be very therapeutic for us. Going for a walk outside, connecting with family and friends over the phone are more important now than ever. Like, it's a really time for us to really stay connected to the food we eat, how we move our body, and what we're listening to every single day.
That's a great point. And I'm thinking about this with a like a diabetes lens of, you know, how many carbs would be in this meal, and we think, you know, rice is such a terrible thing. When I became diabetic, you can't eat rice anymore. The truth of it is when you add a lot of fiber to a meal, you can really slow down the blood sugar spike. We talk about glycemic index and things like that, and there's some great truth to that, but also adding lots of fiber brings down glycemic index.
Yes.
And so in this rice, if we were to have a half cup of rice, which would be just a regular serving. We can hold up a half cup even, because that's starting to burn a little bit.
Yeah.
We're gonna have 35 grams in a half cup of rice, and 35 grams of carbs would be that'd be really great for a meal. So it's really not bad at all. Okay. Here we go. I'm gonna throw a little more oil in here just to get a little moisture. Now we're going to throw in, basically all we're doing is we're heating this stuff. I'm sure you all soak your beans overnight. We just did can today, so we're going to get some tomatoes in there, some beans.
And another kind of fun fact, little nutrition, is that a lot of people will eat canned beans or like canned chickpeas, for example, and they'll be like, my stomach is really upset from these. Like, it's a great protein source, but it upsets my stomach every time I eat it. By soaking your beans and cooking them that way instead of buying them canned, you're removing this outer layer. It's called an oligosaccharide, and that's actually what causes like bloat in people when they eat them. So that's a good tip if you want to eat beans and not feel like bloated or stuff like that. So you can soak them, and it removes the outer layer. It's protein.
Good idea. Excellent. While Savannah was talking there, I just added oregano and chili powder. Just regular chili powder. A tablespoon of each. Oh boy. And 1 teaspoon of salt. Gonna mix that together. Savannah, what smells are you smelling right now?
I'm starting to smell like the jasmine rice. It's
Yeah.
very like sweet, fragrant coming in. That's what I'm getting.
Excellent. With these ingredients, you can do all sorts of preparations with it. We're gonna put it over rice today. You could have this as taco filling, salad, a little bit of greens. There's all sorts of things you can do.
You can do the rice portion of it with like a curry, and then add like lean protein, like chicken or something with it as well to mix it up.
Indeed. So all we're doing now is heating this up. We'll check on our rice in a minute, and this meal is done. So let's see how our rice is doing. Keep it see-through. So we've got a little bubbling going, so we've got a few more minutes on the rice. But another great thing I love about this Moosewood cookbook is it has all of the nutrient information on every recipe. You can find it at any bookstore. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. I've been surprised at how many bookstores I've seen it. So it's a pretty famous thing. You can find these recipes online as well, or buy the book online. But I think this is a pretty healthy meal. I make a lot of meals out of this book, as you can see. Pretty worn.
It is. How long have you had that cookbook, John?
25 years. Ever since college. So my little brother gave it to me. And not something you normally give a 20-year-old male in college, but I kept it. Had a lot of good stuff. Everything I've tried out of it's really good. So so the salsa is out of there today. Our rice dish is out of there. There's a lot of great bean dishes, but this one was just been adapted. Real simple dish there. So let's get some plates out. So if you're at home, you know what? Before we actually do that, let's say people that are watching this are like, well, thanks, John, Savannah. I don't have any of those ingredients. How can you probably have rice, hopefully have beans, and if you're starting from there, protein. You could put ground beef into this or something like that. You could do this with orange juice instead of pineapple. You can, that's really our only maybe ingredient you might not have, right? I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, I mean, you could do, if you don't, you could use cayenne pepper instead if you had to. Tomatoes, you could use canned tomatoes, you know, it doesn't have to be fresh. So you kind of need beans and rice.
Yeah. And say you're like, hey, I'm not super adventurous with my cooking and I'm never going to try this. A good way to look at this is what's on our plate. So, you know, we want lots and lots of vegetables. So I always say 75% of what's on your fork should be in the form of a vegetable. We want a lean protein source, and then we want a healthy fat source. And so we have a lot of vegetables here. We have our beans and rice mixed as our protein, and then we are using olive oil as our healthy fat source. So we're completing our meal already. And if you sat down with me, I preach that so much. Complete your meal of 75% vegetables, you have your protein, and you have your healthy fat source. So especially during this time, if you're like, I only have frozen broccoli and I only have ground beef and then I'm using something else, like really just think about making your meal a complete source. We're not just succumbing to hamburger helper or frozen pizza, stuff like that. It's more, I'm going to say it again, it's extremely important right now that we eat really, really healthy.
Great point, once again. I mean, the smells coming in right now are just really starting to hit me in a good way. Okay, I think we are really close to serving this up. So, get your plates out at home, or get your ingredients out because you're about to make this. We'll serve up a little bit. We also got chips today because it makes a pretty good chip dip. Believe it or not. All right, so our rice is really close to being done. Probably needs like another minute, but I think.
Do you want to talk about the starter?
Oh yes, goodness. So stay tuned while you're. We're kind of waiting for this rice. What you can do is we're going to make some sourdough starter today, and that's because next week we are going to make sourdough something, probably sourdough pancakes. Next week, and that is a sort of family favorite at my house. But we're gonna make some sourdough here in just a few minutes. So you need flour, water, and maple syrup, or sugar, or neither of those. But we're gonna talk about that. But go ahead and look around your kitchen, see if you've got a mason jar or some kind of glass vessel that you can use to make some sourdough starter. And we'll talk about why sourdough starter is such a great thing to have in your kitchen. We're not pausing for a commercial, but we're waiting for this dang rice. So we'll get into that. So go ahead and grab that stuff if you want to follow along on that. And we will do that. I think what do you think, Savannah?
I think that's pretty
I mean,
good.
that's really, really cool. So
should we get a shot of that?
let's get a shot of that. Wow.
Looks good, people.
Okay.
So you can see the pineapple, the chili, the rice. It's very fragrant.
Indeed. Perfect. And the last thing I'm going to do with this little dish is, you didn't put any basil in, did you?
I did not.
I'm just going to sprinkle a little basil for even more aroma across the top of this. We got our beans ready. So let's serve it up, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
I always like to fluff the rice. You guys like to fluff the rice? Get it kind of mixed. I'll do a couple of these. You can do some beans if you want. We have some in-house taste testers today too. So we'll introduce the rest of the crew in a sec. Or come on in.
Yeah. I'm gonna give a shout out right now to my sister who's watching in Hood River. Thanks, Sierra. Hood River, Oregon. So.
Hood River, Oregon. Ooh, and then top that off with some salsa. Do you need a spoon?
Here's a spoon. Oh, I got you.
All right.
shot of it.
Yes. Oh, very nice. Did you get some salsa on there? Man, the pineapple and chili together is just a really good smell.
This salsa looks great.
And another thing that I love to have people do is like look at all the colors that you have on your plate. So every day we should be eating like a rainbow of colors. So reds, orange, yellows, greens, blues, purples. We even have a pink today. So that's pretty exciting.
It's basically like taking a multivitamin.
Yes.
If you cover the rainbows, because those colors mean nutrients, so phytochemicals and all that. So I'm gonna keep that going just for a minute.
This is delicious.
All right, this is Shay, by the way, exercise physiologist, and we also have our newest member of the wellness team, Nikki, is here, and she's an exercise physiologist, and so we got a lot of people heavy on exercise, but part of our sort of background is nutrition. So we are not dietitians, but we have a strong understanding in the basics and foundations of healthy eating. So.
Well done. Very
I wish
tasty.
the dietitian was here. Maybe she'll be here next week. She's a busy gal. So.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Hey, mom and oh, shout out to my mom as well. Yeah, blemishes coming in strong.
Coming in
Nice.
strong. It's so zesty. Yum. Who says give him a shout out?
That is some good stuff. Man, we're
Wow.
impressing ourselves.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dang. Okay.
Mm.
There's no
This
time
is
to
really
enjoy
good.
it though.
Sourdough.
It's time to talk sourdough. Because I doubt anyone at home is. Look at that. We made that meal in 30 minutes.
Yep, right on the dot.
And it's good. I mean, we had sous chefs chopping everything before class. But
Jane and Greg said you did a good job.
we should
Thanks,
be able to-
Jen and Greg.
should be able to make this pretty quick. Now, don't go anywhere. We're going to do sourdough. So, Savannah, why is sourdough so good for us?
I'm
Am I
not a
putting you
bread
on the
eater.
spot?
I don't eat bread.
I'm gonna eat bread.
I need a different number two person.
I know.
So,
It's practically bread, gluten free. That's one good reason about it.
it can be, yes,
Yeah.
it's exactly. So, sourdough is the the original riser yeast,
Okay.
right? Because in the air there was just natural bacteria in the air, right? And so we've all heard of sourdough from San Francisco, and there's maybe something in with the humidity, where the bacteria. I don't know why San Francisco has the best sourdough, but anywhere around the world there's bacteria in the air, and that bacteria, when it interacts with a carbohydrate like bread or flour and water, because bacteria needs water, it's going to start to work some magic, and it'll grow more bacteria. So sourdough is basically two ingredients, water and flour. The natural bacteria gets in there and it starts to bubble up and it starts to create all this bacteria that's really good for your gut. And that's really the key, is that gut bacteria. We're hearing more and more research studies based on gut bacteria links to obesity, heart disease, diabetes, and all those.
Yeah. And our vagus nerve. So our vagus nerve is in our gut. It connects to our brain, and they communicate back and forth. And so an unhappy gut can lead to a lot of like autoimmune. You can have leaky gut. You can have cognitive decline. So there is a lot of new research coming out how important our gut bacteria is and our gut flora. And so not only sourdough, but a lot of the other foods we eat feed that bacteria.
Mm-hmm. But I've noticed just on some of the friends I know, everyone's doing sourdough right now. And I don't know if it's because the world has more time on its hands. Sourdough doesn't really take any more time. It takes a little bit of advanced planning, but let's get into the very complicated process of making sourdough. Starter. Okay, so sourdough starter. This is my sourdough starter. It's 3 years old. Sits in the fridge. I just keep it in the fridge in a container like this, and I swap it out maybe every month with a new clean container, just because I feel like that's probably good to do. I have no idea if that's good or bad. Let's get a close up on this sourdough starter. And so we use this like a base when we make breads and pizza doughs and pancakes. So you can see it's kind of bubbly. I don't know if you can see that too well on the screen. And it has an aroma. So when you make sourdough, which we're going to teach you, it's complicated. It should smell. It's going to smell like one or two things. Okay, it's going to smell either like whiskey when you're done with it, or a little more like what sourdough should smell like. So Savannah has never smelled sourdough starter. Well, how would you describe?
Smells like bread.
It smells like bread.
Like fresh bread.
And it smells kind of good.
Yes, it smells good. It's not bad.
So if it like I made it probably like a year ago. I tried making a batch. I was going to make it for a friend, and it ended up being like a rye whiskey smell. It just like, or there was like rubbing alcohol in it. It just made you kind of jump back. Okay, so that's when you know you've gone wrong. But to make sourdough starter, all you need, we're going to do it in a yogurt container, but you wouldn't want to make it in a yogurt container because that's, you want something that's non-reactive, like glass. You can put a container on it. I just did this because of we didn't have it. But I have in here is 1 cup of whole wheat flour. Okay, nothing special. Savannah, do you want to test that to make sure that that's one? And then we're going to take 1.5 cups of water. Okay, and it's nice to have warm water. So it doesn't have to be hot. You definitely don't want hot.
You want this on?
Sure, we can go ahead and do that. So we're just going to warm that up really quick. And all we're going to do is we're going to add 1.5 cups of water, so 1 cup of flour. Okay, or you can double that. But the thing about sourdough is when you take some sourdough out, you put some back in. Okay, that's the rule of sourdough starter. So you're going to learn a little bit more about this next week when we do the pancakes, but it takes 7 days to make sourdough starter. We're going to combine these ingredients. You're going to let it sit out on your counter for 7 days. Every morning, once a day, you're going to stir it. Done. You have sourdough starter. That is literally how you make sourdough starter. I know, it sounds too hard to believe. Now you can accelerate that process a little bit by adding some sugar. So we are going to add some maple syrup. And that's just going to give it, some food, the bacteria some food. Making sourdough starter in a hospital is not a very good idea because there's HEPA filters on everything and nothing gets in. It's also a very safe place to be. So I already have boiling water just like that. So I'm going to pour this in like yay. We're going to stir it around. Oh, we have another deal. Thank you so much. Fantastic. It is so hard to mess up sourdough starter. The consistency can be whatever you want. If you like it runny, great. If you like it thick, that's fine too.
Yeah, we're gonna send. Hey, Lori, thanks for joining. I'll send a recipe out or a document with all the recipes we've done today for you guys.
Indeed. Okay. I hope you guys are watching closely. See how I make my hand go around in circles? That's called stirring. And 1.5 cups to 1 cup flour is right about the right deal we need. So I'm going to leave this out. Tell you what, I'll send this back here. Okay. And I'm going to take a paper towel that's wet. I would tell you what, I usually don't use sugar, but I have a lot of recipes that do call for maple syrup. So we're going to put in just a little bit of maple syrup.
So then if you are not adding the maple syrup, are you relying on bacteria in the air to feed this? Yeah,
and like right now is a pretty good time to start sourdough starter in the spring. There's a lot of wind, and it's blowing things around, and there's more bacteria just kind of blowing around just because things are windy. Yeah. So that's a good thing. But 5 days. 7 days. Thank you. Now, next week, your sourdough starter will be ready. Okay, so once a day, every morning, you just stir it. Okay, that's all you do. In this climate of the high desert, that's why we put a wet dishcloth or something like that over it, and that just kind of helps keep it from drying out. Okay, and you're going to get a little skin on it, and just mix it back in. Now, when we get to making the actual pancakes, is we're going to add flour and water, some sourdough starter, and the bacteria in that sourdough starter is going to eat up all the gluten peptides in the flour, which renders it gluten-free. So we're going to make gluten-free sourdough pancakes with whole wheat flour. And they're super tasty as well. And it's just a great way of making pancakes. That's how we used to make pancakes. Now we have yeast, and you can do active dry yeast and all those things. But sourdough starter is what makes our old-fashioned yeast. So, and it's really good for your gut. So I think that's pretty much today's little lesson. Some, good food by some amateurs. That's really the bottom line. So next week, if you don't think we know how to get a hold of you, please email us at wellness@hrrmc.net. Wellness@hrrmc.net. We can even put that in the Nikki, if you don't mind putting that in the chat. Our email address, wellness@hrrmc.net. We can send you the recipe. We can also prompt you for next week what to have available. But next week, you're going to need flour and water for starters.
I want to know if you'll make pizza crust with the sourdough starter too.
If you'd rather do pizza, we'll try to do both.
Look, you could make a pizza crust, right? I think
Here's
that's
the
what we're
thing
getting
about it, because sourdough really needs to sit for 16 hours, 16 to 24 hours. So we're going to make this the night before. We're going to come in once again with it all ready. So we're not going to be able to make it live.
But you could take like the sourdough starter and then make a pizza crust out of it.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Yes.
There you go, Steve.
Okay. Yes. And I have a recipe that I can give to Savannah to send out as well. So our pizza crust at home turns out pretty good. And my wife has celiac. So hopefully you enjoyed today. Savannah, anything else to add?
Thanks for joining us, and we really appreciate you guys continuing to join in on all of our classes. We miss you at Wellness U, but we're so happy that we're able to connect with you here.
Indeed, yes, and we have a lot of other classes you can find on our channel. Hopefully in a couple weeks here, we're going to be at our outdoor studio, which is under construction right now. It's just missing some artificial grass, and then we'll be having big views of the mountains, doing all kinds of exercise. It should be a lot of fun. So we're pretty lucky to have what we have. All righty, thanks for joining. We'll see you next time. All right.